Ah, rain. Not hard, but steady. Steady enough to keep me from getting out and doing any work on Pearl or on the Equinox or anything else I need to be doing. Before this rain started, though, I did make a little modification to Pearl that I want to share with you today. And earlier this week, something I had bought for her came in, so we'll open that box up as well. All those things coming up here on the MT and Me. Welcome back to the MT and Me. Well, it's turned cloudy and cool, and looks like it's gonna rain. So I'm out here to do a little last minute adjustment on Pearl before the downpour hits. You may remember a few weeks ago we had some heavy rainfall and this window leaked. In fact, it was pretty much the only place in Pearl that was still leaking. The floor is wet in the corner, and you can see standing water on top of that can. It's leaked. This is wet too. It's leaked around this window. Top of this insulation is wet. So yeah, it's very wet underneath. So it definitely is running around and leaking into the bottom. That's where that water came from. And that's where the floor got wet. And after looking very closely, I could tell it's just water just streaming down this window, probably coming in the top, maybe around the edges, because it's not sealed in place, and the bottom really has a gap here on it. So it's held in, it's locked in, it's not about to fall out. But like I said, it's not sealed, and because there's not a full thickness of wall, it's not pulled in completely firmly. All right, all that being said, I'm going to try something very simple here. I'm going to seal it in with tape, which is not particularly waterproof tape, but I hope it's enough to make the rain flow over and maybe not leak inside. It's just a bit of an experiment to see if it will help the situation any, because I know I do have rain coming. And at the very worst, it won't work, and this window will leak like it did before. So anyway, let's put a little more extra tape on here and just see if it'll make a difference today. Okay, I don't know if this is going to make any difference at all. I feel like it should make some difference, but if it's going to seal up the leaks or not, I couldn't say. But from the looks of the sky, it won't be long before we find out. So, there's that. and we'll come back out here a little later and check and see on how the leak situation is during some rainfall. Well, it's a couple hours later. It is raining, but it's not raining hard. And it hasn't rained hard enough for me to tell if this window in Pearl is going to leak anymore or not. Right now, she hasn't leaked any. But like I said, it really hasn't rained hard enough to test it at this point. So, unless it rains harder and we can come back out here again, we may just have to wait and check on our window seal another time. But that's okay. I did buy something for Pearl the other day, and I managed to get out here and open it up and talk about it before the rains came. Stick around, we'll do that next, here on the MT and Me. Last week, we opened up a really big box containing the fan assembly for the Equinox that we're hoping to replace. I'll have some more to say about that in a few minutes. This week, we have a much smaller box, and this is for Pearl. Now, you remember in last week's show, we talked extensively about how this rear wheel had problems whenever we got Pearl, and I had to go into it and completely gut the brake assembly inside the drum because it was locked up. Wow. So we've got to replace everything inside there. This box hopefully contains the first step to doing that. This thing got some tough tape on it. There, okay. Oh look, I opened the box. It contains another box. Okay, I have no idea what's in here, but we're going to find out right now. It's exactly what I expected. A bunch of springs. Because that's what the rebuild kit is. I pointed out earlier this does not contain brake shoes. I haven't bought those yet. Let's see what we have in here. Brake springs. Now, let's see if I have a clue as to what goes where. This spring is the actual tension spring, the return spring for the brake. It actually goes kind of in the top, connecting the two brake shoes. And this is what, once the cylinder pushes the shoes out to apply the brakes, whenever you release the brake, this is what pulls it back in other words. And yeah, it's a pretty strong spring. Okay. This spring goes actually down at the bottom of the brake shoe, the brake drum. And this one is the tensioning spring for the automatic adjustment. Remember that these are self-adjusting brakes. Most drum brakes are. They have that little star wheel in the bottom that you click into place. And then once you apply the brakes a few times, it all automatically adjusts it to the proper setting. This is what keeps tension on that system. Okay. So you got those two, and then you have these. You actually have two of these. And these are the springs that actually hold the brake shoes against the back plate, which is the very back of, it's the plate that everything is mounted on, holding the entire brake assembly that the drum slides over. Okay, so you've got two of these, one for each brake shoe that holds them in place. And then aside from that, you have these little things, which are actually, they go in from the back, and this is what springs hook over, what the plate shoes, the brake shoe springs, these little red ones, hook over. And then you have these. These are just little rubber grommets that plug the access holes. So that's basically all there is to this. And there's two sets, because commonly when you do brakes, you do both left and right brakes. And I will do that too. This one, of course, has to be done. The other side, I'm assuming probably still works just fine, but I'm going to go in and replace the shoes and the springs because I've got them, and I may as well take care of all of it at the same time. So that provides me with everything except for brake shoes. There are, of course, two shoes for this drum, and the other side will take a couple of shoes as well. We'll buy those separately when the time comes and we get ready to actually do a rebuild on these brakes. The only other consideration might be if the cylinders have a problem. I'm not anticipating that, but we'll look at that whenever necessary. And if so, the cylinders may have to be, I think you can rebuild cylinders to a degree, but for the most part, you simply replace them. To avoid that if I can. That gets to be a bit of a job because it's tough to access on the back side. The outside of the back plate is where you have to disconnect the cylinder and disconnect the brake line from it, and it's got to line up just right. It's kind of pretty critical adjustment, pretty critical setting, and since I've never done this, I'm a little apprehensive about it. It probably is something I could handle just fine, but you know, ask me that after I've finished, after I've done it. And then I might give you a different answer. For now, I like to avoid it if possible. So, long story short, we got all the springs right here that we need to rebuild both brake guts on the rear tires here on Pearl. All we need to get is brake shoes and the time and the energy to do this job. So maybe that'll be coming about in the near future, and we'll have Pearl in a condition to where once I do get the motor running, I can actually drive her and stop her. That's an important thing. If you get her moving, you want to be able to stop. I should also point out that I have not even looked at the front brakes on her. She has front disc brakes. Before we do anything, once we finish the back ones, we will have to pull off the front wheels and at least check those brakes to be sure the disc and the pads are looking good up there. So we'll do a cursory check on them and replace the pads if it looks like it's necessary. So there's that too. Always something additional, isn't there? Anyway, I'm optimistic. Got springs, ready to do a brake job here sometime in the not too distant future. The other thing I wanted to mention was that that fan assembly that I got for the Equinox. You know, the radiator fans. I did a little digging and research to see just what kind of job it is to replace the radiator fan. And quite frankly, if you do it the way Chevrolet recommends you do it, it's quite a job. It involves pulling off the front bumper and the grill, undoing the air conditioner coils, undoing the radiator, which means, by the way, to undo that, you have to take both hoses off and undo the transmission coolant hoses. You have to completely disconnect it, which means you got to drain the radiator too. So you do all that so you can tilt the radiator forward, and then you take the bolts out, 2 bolts that hold that fan to the radiator, and then you lift the fan. You don't really lift it, you kind of wiggle it and squeeze it out from the front. And then you reverse the process to put the new one in. That's a lot of work, and I'm thinking, that's a lot for me to tackle. And if I carry it to my mechanic, I'm looking at several hours of labor, which really adds up quick, even though I have bought the part. So we're still looking at several $100s in work costs to get that taken care of. There was one situation where and this was just a guy writing in on one of the forums, and he didn't want to do that either. So he went in and he took the air cleaner box out and took, I think, a EGR assembly out. Anyway, he removed some stuff along the front of the engine, and apparently he managed to get the fan out that way without disturbing the radiator assembly. He didn't say how hard it was, but he did say he got it out, and apparently he ordered a replacement and managed to get it back in there. So maybe I will look at that possibility. We'll have to take a gander under the hood of the Equinox and see what we think about possibly taking enough stuff off in order to get that fan assembly out, because I really don't want to take the whole front of the car out and disconnect the radiator to replace that fan assembly unless it is absolutely necessary. Which it may well be. We'll just have to find out. Well, with it raining and more rain to come in the next day or two, we obviously aren't going to get out and work on the Equinox. So that'll just have to wait until next time around. So will Pearl's brake job. So for now, we're going to say so long. If you're not a subscriber, you can do so now. Click below. And of course, give us a thumbs up on this video too. Let YouTube take a little notice, all right? Watch us each and every week. Thank you so much for your support, my nomies. Love you guys and gals. Till next time around, I'm Russ, and we will talk later.